The form looked simple. One page. A few lines. Henry had filled out harder paperwork during tax season. He signed it, handed it across the desk, and walked out through the sliding glass doors into the afternoon sun feeling lighter than he had in years. What nobody told him, not the woman behind the counter, not the HR rep who'd handed him the packet, not his financial guy who mostly talked about stock allocations, was that this form contained a rule. A permanent one. A rule the system doesn't explain. It just applies it. And if you're between 58 and 67 right now, this rule may already be waiting for you. Henry was 62. Karen was 61. Married 31 years. They'd put in their time, the early shifts, the overtime, the years of raising kids while trying to save something. Retirement was supposed to be the payoff. But retirement came early. Not by choice. A round of layoffs at Henry's company left him with a severance package and a decision he hadn't expected to make for another 3 years. The HR rep smiled when he handed Henry the paperwork. "You've got options," he said. And technically, that was true. One of those options was claiming Social Security at 62. The earliest age allowed. The one that puts money in your account right away, before most people have even finished their second cup of retirement coffee. Henry and Karen sat at the kitchen table on a Wednesday evening, retirement papers spread between them, a pen in Henry's hand. Karen said, "We've earned this." Henry circled the age. They both felt like they were finally in control of something. That's the part of the story that matters. Not the circle. The feeling. Because that feeling, that sense of finally collecting what you paid into for decades, is exactly the emotion the hidden rule waits for. So what is the rule? Most people who've looked into Social Security have heard the general advice: wait if you can, you'll get more. They've nodded along. Filed it somewhere in the back of the brain. But that's not the rule. The rule is something quieter. Something more permanent. Something that doesn't just affect your check, it affects every check that follows, every raise that comes with inflation, and in some households, every check your surviving spouse receives after you're gone. That's the rule Henry and Karen didn't know they were triggering. Here's the first layer. Claiming Social Security at 62 permanently reduces your monthly benefit. Not temporarily. Not for a few years. Not until the system catches up. Permanently. For life. The reduction can reach roughly 30% below the benefit you'd receive at full retirement age. Think about what that means in real money. Say Henry's full retirement age benefit would have been $2,500 a month. Claiming at 62 drops that to somewhere around $1,750. A $750 gap. Every single month. Over 1 year, that's about $9,000 gone. Over 20 years. And Henry is now 74 and still very much alive. That gap has quietly added up to roughly $180,000. Not in one dramatic moment. Not in a single bad decision you can point to and say, there, that's where it happened. Just $750 a month, month after month, arriving exactly as scheduled. The first statement doesn't feel wrong. The fifth doesn't either. The problem doesn't announce itself. It just keeps arriving. But here's the part of the rule that most people, even people who've done their research, often miss. When Social Security gives annual cost of living adjustments, those small inflation-linked raises are calculated on your base benefit. Your reduced base. Not the full benefit you left behind. So every year, when prices go up and the system increases its payouts, Henry's raise is smaller than it would have been if he'd waited. The gap between what he receives and what he would have received doesn't stay fixed. It grows. Over a long retirement, the kind that stretches into the late 70s and 80s. That compounding effect adds another layer of quiet pressure the original form never mentioned. Karen started noticing it around year 4. Not in any dramatic way. In the way you notice that something keeps being slightly less than you expected. Slightly less. Every time. For years. It was a Sunday afternoon. The groceries were on the counter. Karen had her phone out, checking the bank app the way she now did reflexively, the way some people check the weather. The Social Security deposit was there. But the pharmacy bill had gone up. Insurance had gone up. Everything had gone up in the particular way retirement costs go up, quietly, continuously, unstoppably. She set the phone face down on the counter. Henry came in from the garage and asked what was wrong. She said, "I thought we'd have more room by now." That sentence, "I thought we'd have more room by now," shows up 3, 4, 5 years after early filing. Never at the beginning. Only after the decision has had time to settle into your financial life and quietly rearrange everything inside it. But the permanent reduction and the compounding effect, those are just the first 2 layers of this rule. The third layer is the one most couples never think about at all. And it's the one that hits the hardest. When one spouse dies, the surviving spouse may be entitled to collect survivor benefits based on the deceased spouse's earnings record, particularly when the deceased was the higher earner. That's not a bonus. That's a critical piece of retirement income that millions of surviving spouses depend on to stay solvent in the final chapter of their lives. And here is where Henry and Karen's Wednesday evening decision became something larger than Henry's monthly check. Susan's husband had claimed at 62 for the same reasons. Exhaustion. A worn-down body. A feeling that waiting was a gamble not worth taking. He was a practical man. He thought he was protecting his household. He died at 73. Susan sat across from a Social Security representative who was patient, professional, and kind. She did her best to explain the number on the screen. The number was not what Susan had expected. Because her husband had claimed early, because his benefit had been permanently reduced, the survivor benefit Susan was now eligible for was built on that smaller base. His decision, made years earlier in a quiet moment of relief, had become her permanent financial reality. "Nobody ever told me his choice was also my choice," she said later. She didn't say it with anger. She said it with the particular exhaustion of someone who has finally understood something too late to change it. The rule doesn't distinguish between you and the person you're married to. In households where one spouse outlives the other, which is most households, the early filing decision has 2 lives attached to it, not one. Michael spent 33 years in construction. His body had the receipts, both knees, one shoulder, a lower back that woke him up most mornings before the alarm could. At 63, Social Security felt like the only reasonable option left. "I didn't think I'd make it to 80, he told someone once, without dramatizing it. "I figured I was taking what I could while I still could." He's 81 now. Still grocery shopping. Still paying rent. Still watching the prices go up on things he can't stop buying. Food, medicine, heat. Every month, the same reduced check. The same base he locked in 18 years ago when he thought he was being practical about his own mortality. "I planned for dying early," he said. "I never planned for living longer." That line carries everything. The Social Security reduction is permanent in both directions. It doesn't adjust upward if you outlive the break-even point. It doesn't reward you for still being here, still needing it, still depending on a check that hasn't changed in structure since the day you signed. It just continues. Exactly as set. For as long as you live. This isn't an argument against claiming at 62 in every situation. The pressures that drive people to file early are real. Layoffs don't care about optimal claiming windows. A worn-down body doesn't negotiate with a spreadsheet. Fear about the future of Social Security is understandable. The argument is simpler: know what you're actually signing. The households that navigate this rule well are the ones who understood it before they were sitting in a moment of relief or desperation. They understood that even a 1 or 2 year delay permanently changes the base, and everything built on top of it. They understood that in a 2-person household, the decision isn't just about one person's check, it's about the surviving spouse's income in a chapter of life that will be harder to manage. They sat down together and ran the numbers for both scenarios. Not because it was comfortable. Because the rule was going to apply to them either way, and they'd rather be the ones who chose with open eyes. Henry and Karen eventually sat down with a retirement planner, not right away, but a few years in, when the math kept feeling wrong. He didn't tell them anything dramatic. He showed them the numbers. The cumulative gap. The survivor projection. The inflation math stretched out over 20 years. Karen looked at the paper for a while. Then she said, "Why didn't anyone explain it this way when we signed?" The planner didn't have a good answer, because there isn't one. The rule doesn't require explanation. It just requires compliance. And most people comply before they've ever heard it explained in full. Some retirement mistakes announce themselves early, loud, visible, with numbers you can see and decisions you can revisit. This one doesn't work that way. This one is quiet. It waits. And by the time most people understand it completely, the permanent base, the compounding adjustments, the survivor consequence, they're sitting in a chair they've been sitting in for years. If this is the first time anyone has actually laid out this rule the way it works, not just waiting means a bigger check, but the permanent base, the compounding raise effect, the survivor ripple across 2 lives, hit like. That tells me to keep pulling on the rules the system applies without bothering to explain. In the comments, tell me one rule you wish someone had walked you through before a major financial decision. Not just Social Security. Any rule. Any fine print that showed up after the fact and cost more than it should have. I read all of these. And subscribe Henry Wealth Blueprint, because the next hidden rule we uncover may already be written into something you signed.